Islam. Once again, I give praise. Once again, it's wonderful to be here tonight on this Friday, holy night, here at the Noble Drew Ali Foundation to give all perfect praises to the one God who is the true God. He is the author and the creator and the governor of all the worlds. He is eternal and incomprehensible. He's Allah, but he's God. And I say God because by whatever name you call him, he is the universe. I give honors to the family of noble Asiatic, Muslim, Moorish American men that he produced, beginning with Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and in these modern days and times, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the great master Egyptian Edap, who came to bring us back the 2/3 that was taken from us. So we are no longer 3/5 of a men, which we never have been, but the European in his negative and devilish mind say that we are 3/5 of men. We are close to animals than humans. He brought us our nationality and our divine creed: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I give honors to everything that is due honors, because to withhold honor is both mean and unjust, and to be mean and unjust means that your heart is not fixed on the love of truth. So here in the Noble Drew Ali Foundation, we try to teach our members, our wayfarers, our seekers after the truth, our friends, etc., how to be the message that they bring. And that message should be love at all times. I give honors to our great and illustrious chairman. I give honors to all the members out. I give all honors to all those who are watching and listening to me. I thank you in this time of the pandemic, which is still going on. My brothers and my sisters and all of humanity, please be careful. Because those who should govern aren't governing properly. Keep their masks on, keep that distance. Because you got a family that needs you, dependent on you. That's what we're talking about. Dear Father, with these lessons, you can set your household in order. Dear mothers, with these lessons, you can teach your young ones how to love instead of hate. So without further ado, I give honors to everything that is due honors in this universe and the universes of others, because what? Every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they have learned to love instead of hate. So without further ado, I have a reading from the Constitution that was brought by our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Subhanallah, before I go on, I'd like to step back and give honors to the successor of the prophet, which most don't talk about, Brother COOLEY-EL, who is truly and was truly a great brother. Salam. Salvation, our God, unity, the moral science, temple of America, divine constitution and bylaws. Act 1, grand sheets and chairmen of the moral science, temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the prophet and the grand body of the moral science, temple of America. The assistant grand sheik is to assist the grand sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in the flesh, and it was on a Friday when man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy all over the world. Act 3, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No members to put in danger or accuse falsely his brothers or sisters on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government. Because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of this said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians. Because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and last to 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now. And all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessity of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Islam, thus with that reading from the foundation of the movement, the Constitution, the Moorish Science Temple of America, Divine Constitution, and bylaws. We're getting ready to go into what we call the additional laws, which are the bylaws of the movement. Islam. Questionnaire and additional laws for Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. They're found on page 7 and 8 if you have your book and you're reading with me. Additional Act 1. Grand sheikhs and governors and heads of all temples, all business, he said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that would cause members to sacrifice finance, etc., that would cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Additional Act 2. All members are to attend their ADAP meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, he shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second he will fine $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid. If he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he's able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Additional Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he's able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation. And if he does not, he's an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. As I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. That's our holy prophet talking in the laws that he had to reissue. Additional Act 4. All members, while making a public speech, must not use any exertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Additional Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the, all members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm themselves to the questionnaire and let every member exercise his 5 senses who's able to do so, because out from your Sunday schools comes the guiders of the nation. Additional Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and all members are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. Did you hear that? In additional Act 6, leaders, governors, it says, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they're not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians. Because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now. And all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So in that act, the prophet is telling the leaders this is what they're supposed to be teaching, and this is what they're supposed to be doing, and members as well. Continuing, Additional Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you're entitled to the name of faithful husband. You must support your wife and children. Islam? Okay. All Moorish Americans must keep their heart. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you're entitled to the name of faithful husband. You must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet Noble Drew Ali through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Thus we've added reading and the continuance of the law, the additional laws found in the questions for Moorish Americans. The great meeting is on. Continuing in the law, because what is religion? Religion is law. What is law? Law is government. And what is government? Government is the people. And where did this begin? In Act 7. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, look after the duties of your household. That's where it begins. My brothers, my sisters, wayfarer seekers after true friends of distinction, etc. Islam. Continuing, we have a reading from chapter 22, page 34, Duties of an Husband. From the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Circle 7, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali by the guidance of his Father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem men from his sinful and fallen stages of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his Father, God Allah. Page 34, Divine Instructions, chapter 22, Duties of a Husband. Take unto thyself a wife, and obey the ordinance of Allah. Take unto thyself a wife, and become a faithful member of society. But examine with care, and fix not suddenly on thy present choice. Depends thy future happiness. If much of her time is destroyed in dress and adornment, if she is enamored with her own beauty and delighted with her own praise, if she laughs much and talketh loud, if her foot abideth not in her father's house, and her eyes with boldness roll on the faces of men, though her beauty were as the sun in the firmament of heaven, turn thy face from her charms, turn thy feet from her paths, and suffer not thy soul to be ensnared by the allurements of imagination. But when thou findest sensibility of heart, joined with softness of manner, and accomplished mind with a form agreeable to thy fancy, take her home to thy house. She is worthy to be thy friend, thy companion in life, the wife of thy bosom. Oh, cherish her as the blessing sent to thee from heaven. Let the kindness of thy behavior endear thee to her heart. She is the mistress of thy house. Treat her therefore with respect, that thy servants may obey her. Oppose not her inclination without cause. She is the partner of thy cares. Make her also the companions of thy pleasure. Reprove her faults with gentleness. Exact not her obedience with rigor. Trust thy secrets in her breast. Her counsels are sincere. Thou shalt not be deceived. Be faithful to her bed, for she is mother of thy children. When pain and sickness assault her, let thy tenderness soothe her affliction. A look from thee of pity and love shall alleviate her grief and initiate her pain, and be of more avail than 10 physicians. Consider the tenderness of her sex, the delicacy of her frame, and be not severe to her weakness, but remember thine own imperfection. Islam, chapter 22, brothers and sisters, tonight we're talking about subhanallah, yeah, that's true too. I know where he at. I know. That's why I'll be saying, but I know how y'all. Now, I don't open up and everything. You can start. I read the chapter. You can, whatever you want. Okay. As I was saying before went to get the chairman, we talk about duties of a husband. In verse 1, the prophet is telling us, take unto thyself a wife, obey the ordinance of Allah. Take unto thyself a wife and become a faithful member of society. He's telling us to obey the ordinance of Allah. In the time of the writing of the Holy Quran, ordinances were laws in the provinces and the cities of the nation. So the ordinance of Allah is, take unto thyself a wife and become a faithful member of society. So why did he say a faithful member of society if you take a wife? Because he know if you have a wife and your heart is up with purity and love, you're going to be faithful to her, and therefore you'll be a faithful member of society because everybody see that you and your family are united. Then he tells us in verse 2, but examine with care and fix not suddenly on thy present choice, depends thy future happiness. Now he's telling us, praise be to Allah, our holy prophet is telling us to examine with care. Examine with care and fix not suddenly on thy present choice. Why? Because that future happiness depends on the woman that we choose to be our wives, our husbands, and the father and mothers of our posterity, meaning our children. So the prophet, through the will of Allah, is showing us and informing us through Allah how to obey the continents of our society, how we make our society better, especially men and women, because we are the source of the children. So if we be faithful to one another, our society will be better. Because if we don't, our present choice, if we don't take and examine with care our present choice, for Allah speaks to man through man. And we understand that when man goes within, he goes to where? He goes in the soul and pulls back the veil and goes to the spirit and goes on the soul plane and talks with the masters in thought. And it said, a faithful member of society, but examine with care. Examine with care. That means take your time, like talk about it, discuss it, understand what you're getting into. And fix not suddenly on thy present choice. That means don't rush into nothing. See, just that simple. Don't rush into it because, as we like to say, oh, man, she makes me feel good. Examine with care. Because a lot of us before we were conscious, we didn't examine with care. We got all screwed up because we were seeing with the eye of the flesh instead of with the eye of the soul. Because in a relationship, you want to be happy. That's why the prophet tells us on thy present choice. See, on thy present choice depends thy future happiness. See, because praise Allah, We ain't in a country, or I'm gonna say a country or a nation, where you can be fixed in a marriage from childhood and you don't have no say so. But praise be to Allah, we have the say so of who we choose and when we choose. That's why I say, because your future happiness depends on your choice. Your future happiness is just that simple. Don't get into it and then realize that this ain't what you want, because remember, you made that choice. The words of thy mouth is the thoughts of thy heart. Verse 3, if much of her time is destroyed in dress and adornment, if she is enamored with her own beauty and delighted with her own praise. First of all, if she spent a lot of time dressing up, it ain't nothing wrong with a woman dressing up and adorn herself. But if much of her time is doing this, and she do it because she's in armor with her own beauty and delighted with her own praise, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because she's not taking note that she's been selfish, because she's put more time into her adornment and her firm and her dressing than she is into her relationship and understanding her man. I ain't gonna say husband, because you might not be married to it. You might be on the way trying to figure out, would this be a good fit? Is she a good woman? But as Moorish American men, Muslims, we have the tool, the instructions to work with. All we have to do is go into our bag of wisdom and pull out our guide, our Holy Quran, and go to the chapter, and the instructions in there would tell us. He just told us that much of her time is destroyed in dress and adornment. If she's in armor with her own beauty, delighted with her own praise, if she laugheth much and talketh loud, if her foot abideth not in her father's house, and her eyes with boldness roll on the face of men. You got to understand that this woman is all about her praise. See, he told us that in verse 2. She all about her praise. Here you is sitting here with your man, but your eyes are everywhere except on him. So we know, as we continue to read, this ain't happening. If her foot abideth not in her father's house, and her eyes with boldness rove on the face of men, though her beauty were as the sun in the firmaments of heaven, turn thy face from her charms, turn thy feet from her path, and suffer not thy soul to be ensnared by the allurements of imagination. By the allurements of imagination. That tells me she's throwing off things. And if we don't be careful, and I keep saying it, if we don't be careful and use the tools that's given to us, praise Allah, by his holy prophet that he sent to us, and the instruction inform us that she's doing all these things, no matter how much you think your soul or your heart is into it, I'm going to speak to you. He's going to tell you to turn from her path. But then he go on to say, but when thou findest sensibility of heart, joined with softness of manner, and accomplished mind, with a form agreeable to thy fancy, take her home to thy house. She's worthy to be thy friend, thy companion in life, the wife of thy bosom. See, and in using these instructions, you see what the prophet said? But when thou find sensibility of heart, sensibility means she's sensitive. Joined with softness of manner. She ain't always stomping, what they used to say in the old days, stomping, cursing, and fussing. You know, she ain't doing those things. You know, she ain't doing those things. But without of her heart, joined with softness of manners, an accomplished mind, that means she's always gentle. She's always showing her feminine side, her you know, intuitive side. Meaning she shows the best of her. She's always calm and collected. Softness of manners. That means she ain't fussing, she ain't cursing, she ain't throwing stuff. She's always trying to respect her character as well as yours. An accomplished mind, that means, man, she could be a doctor, she could be a lawyer. You know, most brothers and most sisters, they're scared of women and men. He got a degree. That don't make him smart. That just make him trained in what? A skill. You know what I mean? That don't make him better than you. You should want a woman to aid you in your kids, because as we go on, we're going to find out that's what's happening with this sensibility of heart joined with this softness of manner and accomplished mind. And listen to this. And the prophet says, with a form agreeable to thy fancy. So he tell you, if you like it, but make sure everything that's with it is the same as that, because the allurements in the form, as they say, sometimes the soda bottle could be a trick, an allurement. You run up in there because of that soda bottle shape, and you find out you done ran up into the she-devil and the bridezilla. So you got to be careful, my brothers and my sisters. Okay. With a form agreeable to thy fancy, take her home to thy house. She is worthy to be thy friend, thy companion in life, and the wife of thy bosom. And he said all these things because he knows if you're following the instructions, when you get her there, you're going to let her know where you're coming from. You're going to let her know what you're about. You know, you ain't going to demand that she be what you are or what you're about, but you're going to ask her to consider your position and her position in your life, because in the law it says, wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, look after the duties of your household. Oh, cherish her as a blessing sent to thee from heaven. Let the kindness of thy behavior endear thee to her heart. Now, brothers, that means we have to learn. We can't be beating on them. We can't be cursing them out and doing all those things that we shouldn't be doing. Because if we'd have followed the instructions or went into our little wisdom bag and pulled out the tool that was necessary, we wouldn't be in this situation. So don't fault her for your misjudgments, because still you are looking with the confidence of a firm and wise mind. You're looking with the lust of desire in the chapter before that. It'll tell you, it'll rush you upon destruction. That's what desire do. So we can't get angry, and we have to learn that our beating on women ain't the way. If you make the proper choice, you don't have to put your hand on no woman, because in today's society, they lock you up for that. Because if she's taught right, she will be a blessing for heaven. But she got to see you treating her right. She got to see, you know, and a lot of people laugh when I say this. She got to see the Lord in you. She got to see the Lord in you. See, when we say Lord, that don't mean that anything else but we're ruling our household. Simple as that. We are ruling our circumference. But I always like to stay in the law. In Acts 7, it says, husband, support your wife and children. So that tells me my position and what I'm to do. So when I read this chapter, I know that I done made a mistake. So why beat on it? If you can't get along, please go. Sister, that's all I'm asking. Please go. You know, we can't do this. Let the kindness of thy behavior endear thee to her heart. A good man, a woman gonna always want. And the prophet tells us Moors are upright, independent, and fearless, who cares for their loved ones. That means that you are not out there beating on women, your wife all in the street and acting crazy. She is the mistress of thy house. Treat her therefore with respect, that thy servants may obey her. Now, that's saying that if you have someone, maybe a nanny, taking care of your kids, or you have a cook, because, you know, it ain't strange. People get that kind of money and do those type of things. If you always bashing the woman, then the servant, oh, you ain't got to pay no attention to her. Lord Cooley just comes in here and bash her every day. We don't got to respect her. We got to respect him. That's division in your household. So you done already, what? Fell off of Act 7. Husband, you must support your wife and children. You support your wife when you treat her kind in front of those who work for you, thy servants. Oppose not her inclinations without cause. Now, what that's saying to me, her inclinations, if she give you a suggestion of a thought, don't just say, oh, woman, you don't know. Because you don't know whether she know if you don't listen to her. So we have to learn being a man ain't being roughhouse, a bunch of muscles. Today we learning that men think. Men are learning to love in a different way today. Our love don't have to be shown as they believe when you slap them down, that's because you love them. We ain't doing that today. We learning how to love one another. You know, like men don't, like I might tell you, Mo, I love you. Because I understand what I'm saying. I'm not that far off that I don't have confidence in who and what I am. So I've learned how to say love without that doubt. And it's got the same situation we have to give to our women. You know, before you came, I was listening to the show, and it's right out here. They was talking about how they treat the girls when they're over at Orlando Mall, right? And they was talking about the Nation of Islam, and the brothers jumped in. They said, I can't let you do that. They had an army of men, and they had an army of women who didn't allow disrespect. So don't take Malcolm somewhere where you're dismissing him. because they wasn't having it. They had strong women and men as security, and he didn't say security, but I'm saying security. He said as an army. Because the sisters say, just like the Muslim sisters, he said, don't try that, and don't you put that on Malcolm. When Malcolm created that, Malcolm knew what he was doing. You just made his speech useless. Because you done made the brothers beast and the women weak. They are the soldiers of the nation, men and women. The brother laid out. He's from somewhere around. He's saying, then I'm going to say this. Hey, as we grow, we learn. I was one of them over in Lando Mall hanging off the wall, talking about, hey, sexy lady and all that. He said, but the strange thing about it today, old men do it. I couldn't get my call in because I was saying, everybody don't change. You know, yeah, he'll fight you about his daughter, but I agree with you. If you do it you don't want it done to your daughter, then do it about that woman you don't know out there in the street. Respect her like you want your daughter respected. Praise God. Praise God. She is the partner of thy cares. Make her also the companion of thy pleasures. Now, she is the partners of thy cares. That means she take care of our household. She makes sure that we got clean clothes. She makes sure she feeds us and all that. But at the same token, she should be the taker of our pleasures. Once we've become to understand that a lot of women, the prophet tells us, when we rush upon destruction, most of the time the sunshine started to decline in our life. Why? Because we rushed upon destruction and kept going. And we woke up one morning, there was no life. Reprove her faults with gentleness. Is that not obedience with rigor? Well, I just talked about that. You don't have to curse her, beat her to get respect. You don't have to beat her, curse her to reprove her faults. Sit down and talk to her with gentleness. Is that not obedience with rigor? Because, man, what they say is a thin line between love and hate. And once you put it there, it's going to be hard to get it away. So we must learn to be not only, I love to say this, not only upright, independent, and fearless, but we got to also learn how to be total love. We got to learn how to be gentle. You know, you got to learn how to be gentlemen and women. Trust got secrets in her breast. Her counsels are sincere. Thou should not be deceived. And I always tell brothers when I read that, you have to make that decision because you making that choice. I can't tell you to trust all women because I don't know whether the woman is good for you or not. But you have to make that decision of whether you want to trust your secrets with her. But I would think if you brought her home as your friend and your companion, and she's worthy to be your wife, then she's worthy to know your secrets. But that's just COOLEY-EL's opinion. That's opinion, ain't no proof of truth. Be faithful to her babe, for she is the mother of thy children. When pain and sickness assault her, let thy tenderness soothe her affliction. A look from thee of pity and love shall alleviate her grief. Now, the prophet is telling us, when we bring out our gentle side, our mate, they can overcome their sickness because they know that our soothness, our sweet love voice, our touch is different when she's sick. You know, because he tells us, And when pain and sickness assault her, let that tenderness soothe her affliction. A look from thee of pity and love shall alleviate her grief, or initiate or instigate her pain, and be of more avail than 10 physicians. They say that if this is your woman and she's sick and you talk to her, you help her, you go get her food, hey man, she's gonna get well quick because she know that you need her. Consider the tenderness of her sex, the delicacy of her frame, and be not severe to her weakness. But remember, thy own imperfection. Now, ain't that something? He's telling us, don't every time we see a woman doing something, we got to remember our own imperfections. We got to remember our own imperfections. And when we become to the level of mastering ourselves in the divine wisdom, and always think about what the past sheep always said. Raise that thoughts to infinite wisdom. And when we get to that point and we can raise our thoughts to infinite wisdom, we can see omnipotence displayed before thee. And what is omnipotence? It is the power or force of the one thing that creates it all, love. See, because when Allah decided to bring, he brought him in what? Two. He brought one in love and one in truth. But if you don't know how to love, then the truth is going to be hard to get to. And why I'm saying that is because we ain't talking about loving without. We got to learn to love ourselves within. Because a lot of times we love everything outside of us, but we can't love us from within. And that's because we don't give ourselves a chance to go within. We're always trying to find that thing without to push it down to make us look big, when in all actuality, we're unsure, we're ungrateful, and we don't even respect ourselves by the things we do. But once we become conscious of who we are, and most important, what we are, that whole circumference change. You know, that people hate to hear us say that I know that I'm the Son of God. Because they say, you making yourself his partner. You're not making yourself his partner. That's your father. That is your father, like we say in the temple. Who's our father in the temple? Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Don't we go to him for answers? Don't we direct, brother man? Go to your chest. Go to your wisdom path. You know, that's what you care for. And you remember the sheep told us, remember, everybody with a briefcase may not have the work in it. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And I always thought about that. So now I understand that having a briefcase don't make you know. You know, what I'm learning is the work of your character that's natured or nurtured by your nature is what makes you wise. See, because when you learn that you got two selves, you know when that other self is coming. And you have the strength to pull it back. Just like you have the strength to make the present choice. But first, you got to ask yourself, am I ready to be the master? See, brothers think that PIPMP, that's bull crap. That's bull crap. They do it And why I'm saying it's bull crap, because I did it, and I know one thing. Everything you do, you got to pay for. You know, so I know that every bit of good I try to do it for all the wrong I did. You see? But praise Allah, I've been in the street 20 years. I've been with the woman 42 years, in and out. But it's one thing I've learned, and believe it or not, you played a part in it. Showing me that I can be me. I don't have to, you know how some people, I don't have to keep doing that. I ain't got to keep showing that. Because he say in Caviar Empire, you can love him to death. Roll him down the hill like a ball. So I don't, I've learned that you can be all you want to be in truth just as well as you can be in sin. That's my lesson for the night. You ready to close? Or you want me to? You want me to close? Praise Allah. I hope everyone learned something tonight. I hope what I gave was beneficial. May Allah be praised. So without further ado, I have a reading of the proclamation. The warning. Let me get it in somewhere. Friday, January. Islam. Subhanallah. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the street. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, and freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice then must take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feeling toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their car. They should turn in their car, button, cease wearing their turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sins by order of the prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam, thus we had a reading from the warning by the prophet. So without further ado, we'll say the prayer. Right? Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam, praise Allah. Yes. No, you know what?